Talkward, Cringeworthy Tales. And now, your host, weekly humorist, editor-in-chief, Marty Dundix.
Hi, and welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorist Magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little show where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. I'm very excited about today's guests. Not coincidentally, because they have a book coming out that Humorous Books is publishing. Totally coincidentally that they were booked today to promote this new book that I had no idea about, but at the same time am publishing. Bob Eckstein and Michael Shaw. Welcome to Talkward. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for allowing us to be here, Bob and Marty.
And this is a remote podcast. Usually these things are in studio. We are all over the world now. I'm from a Weekly Humorist bunker in New York City. And Michael, where are you joining us from?
I am in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. I understand Joe Biden's in town today, so he might be stopping in.
Look at that. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. And Jim Carrey's going to be playing him on SNL.
Printing a Biden sign off of a printer right now.
Are you? Is that the
yard sale?
You're printing? You're doing some printing?
It's. She came down and took the printer and said, I said, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm going to make a Biden sign.
Okay, great.
Go steal one off a yard. Come on.
Yeah, it's just like everybody else. And Bob Eckstein, Bob, you are in Pennsylvania?
I'm downstairs. No, I'm in the room next to you. I am below you. I am in your basement, and I've been here, and I am really waiting for anyone to bring me some food. Actually, this whole thing has been confusing because I thought we were going on car talk. I am prepared for it. I have all these notes that I'm a big fan, that I've been listening for years, and I have all these questions about my Mini Cooper, and this is all throwing me totally.
I've got this carburetor, and it's making a sound like this. Those guys, the car talk is very informative.
Yeah, I do have a problem with my car, and Michael probably can help me, so I just want to get this out of the way and ask him right now.
That's okay.
My
Please go ahead.
Every so often, there's a funny smell coming in my car. I'm like, if I accelerate, it smells like gassy, like a fart. And then it goes away, and then I can be driving and stuff, and then it reappears unexpectedly. Or it depends on who's in the car.
No, Bob, you got to take those empty, used White Castle boxes out of the car.
Okay.
They just can't pile up in the back.
Now, where do I put them?
You dispose of them properly. Feed them to your bears.
You do that. That's a very good suggestion. Bob Eckstein is living in like a wooded property area, and you've got an alarming amount of bears that come in and out of your backyard. And
we have visitors all the time.
You document them with quite normalcy, in my opinion. Like the way I take a photo of like a squirrel and I'm fascinated. You've got like 6 bears in your backyard.
Yeah, if anybody wants to see the operetta I worked on last year, the squirrel operetta is on McSweeney's.
Oh, I remember seeing that. So Bob, but just to do more introductions, Bob and Michael, you're both cartoonists. You're both long-time cartoonists for many respectable and unrespectable publications. Most notably The New Yorker, most disrespectfully The Weekly Humorist, and you have a book of cartoons and text mixed together coming out.
It's called The Elements.
It's called The Elements of Stress. Yes, The Elements of Stress.
And this is a handbook that we brought out. This is what we did during our pandemic. This was our public service, and we wanted to reach out to people in a fun way, though. As Michael likes to say, things could not get any worse, but things can get much funnier.
Well, that was you, Bob.
Oh, that was General Custard.
No. I said tragedy plus time equals comedy, but who's got time anymore?
It's true. We don't have time for that.
No. Let's go straight,
You got to jump right into it.
That's right.
So the book we should explain is a parody of The Elements of Style, a book that I think Michael and I would both consider on our top 10 books to bring to a desert island. And we love the book, and we wanted to do a parody, and it made some transitions before I got to this point, but ultimately we did a book about this year and about stress, and I like to think that it's actually very helpful too.
When I pitched the book to Bob. It was called originally The Elements of Bliss and How to Live Happily. And it kind of took a weird turn.
It took an absolute left turn.
Oh.
This is the opposite of the book that you wanted to do, and here we are.
You know, it's funny. People like to say that there's a moment when Donald Trump decided to run for president. And we all heard the story about how Seth Meyers had done the political journalist dinner.
Right, the
and
correspondent.
He skewed Trump, and it motivated Trump to get revenge and decide to run. I feel like this whole thing with the book and stress and stuff, for me, it began on election night 2016, and I was texting a new friend that I was all excited about being friends with, and this was Terry Gross from radio,
from Fresh
Air.
She
was saying that she was saying that we're going to celebrate, and this is such a glorious night, and she was so excited about Hillary becoming the first woman president, and I was texting her from the middle of the New York Times newsroom. I was in the middle of the newsroom. And there was cake, there was balloons. And by 9:30, the place got so dead quiet. It was like a fart went off in church. All of a sudden, everyone just got so negative, including Terry Gross's email. And since that moment, I feel like everything in the universe has kind of gone backwards.
Yeah, things soured very quickly that night. I remember I was at a big event at a bar restaurant in Park Slope in Brooklyn where I live, and it was packed in the enthusiasm. It was electric, and they had the big, huge projection screen down, and it was just like a party atmosphere. And then like the night ticked on, and then it just got emptier and emptier and quieter and quieter, and people were just like drinking silently. And
I'd like to say I voted for Donald Trump.
and
This
podcast is over.
Just remove him from the room.
Trying to be Talkward.
And this comes to a screeching halt.
I have a Terry Gross story I want to follow up, though.
I'd love it. I am 100% Terry Gross stories. That's it.
Okay.
I have a whole other podcast. All that is. But go ahead.
That night, I remember saying to her, I felt so lucky to have this correspondence with her during election night that we're going back and forth. And I said to her, I really appreciate this. I really appreciate it because I know how busty you are. Autocorrect changed the word busy to busty. And then I had to apologize to her. I said, I didn't mean that. I said, I appreciate how busy you are. And then another thing I remember saying is I said to Terry, I said, if only there was a book during this election to get me through these times, a book about stress that I wrote with Michael Shaw that can help us. And here we are in these next elections, and we are prepared.
You're ready to go.
This is it.
Yeah.
That's why this book is coming out, because of this election.
This book is amazing.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh. I said, and since we're just going to talk about Terry Gross for the whole hour, I have the official Terry Gross New Yorker cartoon, which I sent to her after it was published, and she said thanks.
That's a great story.
Michael, we talked about that, and I don't know how much you remember, but I remember us saying, I told you that Terry Gross would love to be in a cartoon, and you had this great idea, and I said, oh, God, she's going to love this, and then sure enough, it got published.
I told her I loved her in Sleepwalk with Me. I think that did it.
There you go.
Well,
do you remember the Mike Sachs article, NPR fan fiction, that's on Weekly Humorist? And I think you sent this article to Terry Gross, and it is very erotic. And it's talking about like a post-apocalyptic like world, and it's focused in DC, and it has like but it's all about NPR anchors. And it's like they're living in this world with like vampires and monsters, and it's very sensual, and it's very blue, and
I know,
it's sexy. And Mike Sachs wrote it, and he's so funny. And you sent it to Terry Gross, and she wrote something. What did she write to you? Something like
she was a good sport about it. She wrote back that she was blushing, and it was pornographic.
Everybody's blushing when they read that article.
And it's funny you should say this, because just by total coincidence, the last person I spoke to before this podcast went on the air was Mike Sachs.
Really? Hi, Mike Sachs. Mike Sachs, Big fan of Mike Sachs. He gives you a great quote here. I have some of the praise right here for The Elements of Stress.
And he truly liked the book. He wrote me on the side. I asked him for a blurb, and then
Not
on
like
the side,
not like the rest of the blurbs who just made it up, but Mike's is real.
Oh, that's some of my best writing. Those blurbs that I came up with are
They're
just
very
wonderful.
good.
But Mike said he truly, really thought the book was hilarious.
I have some that I'm going to read here, if that's okay. It doesn't embarrass you too much. I'll start with Mike Sachs's. This book made me laugh like hell. I was heavily sedated, but it did. Looking forward to reading it more closely or at all. End quote. Mike Sachs. Poking a Dead Frog. Stinker Lets Loose. Randy. Passable in Pink. Thank you, Mike Sachs. This is a good one, too, from Ron Haig. If this book doesn't make you happy-ish, you're hopeless-ish. Thanks, Bob and Michael. Ron Haig.
Ish.
Before you
Simpsons,
move on to
Seinfeld,
the next
Wrong.
blurb,
Yeah.
before you move on, I just want to comment that Mike is responsible for these books called like Poke the Frog and these other books that were tremendously helpful to me, and I recommend them to people who want to study humor. They're really like a Bible to comedy, and he himself is like a comic historian who's been on the CNN series History of Comedy.
He's a great guy. He's a very nice guy. He's a very funny guy. He's very modest, but hugely, immensely talented.
And then there's Ron. And Ron is a tremendous talent.
Ron's cartoons right now are so good, and they're so sharp. Definitely check out Ron Haig's cartoons on Instagram. He might have a book coming out soon that we're excited about.
He was my favorite humorist growing up. When I was at the Village Voice, I was a teenager, and I had a column, and I admired him from afar, and it was my dream to one day meet him or speak to him, and I didn't get a chance to, but I always loved his work immensely. And then 40 years later, he contacted me and was complimenting me on my work, and now we've become close friends. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. And the other one I got here, we have Jack Handy. Jack Handy, Deep Thoughts. Jack Handy writes, not to stress you out, but buy this book. It's very funny. Buy it now. And that's Jack Handy said this.
He's from Saturday Night Live fame.
Yes, everybody knows who Jack Handy is, Bob. Everybody. No?
I'm not sure. I wasn't sure. People knew.
Okay. Chris Monks from McSweeney's gave you a quote. Very nice quote. This hilarious book will help you forget this oppressively dark period of human civilization for a good 10 or 11 minutes. The element of stress is a perfect respite for whichever unrelenting, soul-crushing torment you're currently experiencing. McSweeney's
Nothing like
Internet.
over-promising and under-delivering.
It's the name of the game.
I know.
It's the name of the game right now.
I'm going to have to read this book. I haven't seen it.
Me too. I'm excited about reading this book. It sounds great.
Well, Michael's contributions to the book, I feel like he has, once in a blue moon, he strikes lightning. And his cartoons in the book, to me, make it worth it. Even if there were no words in the book. It was just Michael's cartoons that are in the book now, which I counted. It's actually like 55 cartoons.
It would make this book so much easier to read if there were no words and just cartoons, but maybe next time.
I'm trying to convince hear Blue Moon and Lightning in one sentence. That was pretty good.
I told people it's a very fast read. I said that we've tried to put the font size at like 76.
Yeah.
So you can get through the book really. It's a 10-minute read, but it isn't a 10-minute read because there's so much to think about. Every idea we have makes you ponder and go out and walk in the woods and rethink your whole life.
It has a great theme. It weaves a nice story. It goes, I feel like it's a well-organized collection of self-help topics of stress, and it addresses each topic of stress in a very well-thought way that I enjoyed, and it helped me when I was meditating before doing this show.
You look better.
It's also historic and folkloric, much like Car Talk.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, it has history. We go back to different times. We go back to BC times, also before Corona, but real BC times. We have some caveman drawings in there. I have a whole bunch of questions to ask you about the book. Well, also, so for number one, when did you first come up with the idea of this book to do for this publishing period? It has to be, March, April?
Well, Michael, you could tell your side of the story, and then I'll correct you.
It was sudden and frightening, actually, because I'm sort of I'm not a big fan of elements of style. I think it's a hard book to read. So I've always been playing with making fun of it, creating a parody of that. So I kind of pitched that idea to Bob, and he goes, no, let me fix this. Just, here's the keys to the limousine. Let me go. And I did. So that's my story.
Or the keys to his broken Mini Cooper.
Yeah. Don't buy the Mini Cooper.
Bob loves his Mini Cooper, and I've heard so many stories.
It's not even a real Mini Cooper. It's like a bad BMW.
No, let's just clear the air, pun intended. The thing is it doesn't smell when you're idle. It's only when you accelerate going uphill that all of a sudden you have this farty smell, and you have to roll down the windows. And
that's your catalytic converter. It's probably clogged.
You think?
Oh yeah.
Is this a stick shift Mini Cooper?
No, it's an automatic because my wife drives it too.
A Mini Cooper with an automatic. Ugh.
Well, I share the car with my wife, and she doesn't drive a stick. But also, what about this? Like every time I put it in reverse, though, for a split second, it goes da 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 da, and then it goes away, and then and the car is running fine, but it makes that little da 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 da.
We have turned into car talk.
and what about the book, Bob? Talk about the book.
Oh, the book was initially, we actually talked about making it the Elements of Strife, which has a very poetic sound to the Elements of Style. But of course, there was no reason for us to be so married to doing a parody, because really the motive of the book is to help people. And the word strife actually is such a complex concept that to make it understandable for people, I think Michael and me agreed to simplify the book to make it the element of stress was a smart move and made it clearer to what our motives were. Would you agree, Michael?
Yes, and you said I wrote like Thomas Pynchon on Ritalin. It was like indecipherable.
But what about Bronson Pynchon?
Oh, I love him on Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, he was Balky.
Oh yeah. I look a little like Cousin Larry.
Kind of Cousin Larry.
Yeah.
How did you guys write this book? Did you guys write this book similar to how we're doing this interview, where it was just a lot of conference calling?
No. Bob would send me parts and said, make this funnier. And then I'd make it funnier and send it back.
No, I've been
That's a good process.
It is.
I've been a big disciple of John Cleese. John Cleese does lectures and does these books about how to be more creative and how to eliminate anxiety and be more playful to become more creative. And then he talked about, during this process, how he worked with his writing partner, Graham Chapman. And I do feel like there was some parallels where I was doing some of the grunt work, but Graham Chapman for John Cleese would sometimes come up with the ways to really make a piece be really gold. And Michael, it's true with his cartoons. And cartoons and writing is that he does some work, then all of a sudden it's a home run that goes clear over the stadium wall. And I think that was his contribution, was to be able to not make me so pedestrian.
I feel like, and I'm seeing a lot more because I was introduced to Michael through you, Bob, to publish on Weekly Humorist, and I've seen so many Michael Shaw cartoons putting this book together. And Michael, your cartoons are fantastic. Like, I love how seemingly simple they are. Like your drawing style is so sort of this, like, not effortless, but it's very comfortable and it's very like light and smooth, and it's just like this nice little, wispy. It's almost like a croissant of cartooning.
Amazingly, cartooning to me is pure torture. It is. It's awful. When I used to submit stuff, like Bob Mankoff said, there's good cartoonists, and there are good, bad cartoonists. Michael is a good, bad cartoonist. And he said, you like your work, don't move to New York. So I took his advice.
Well, New York's kind of a expensive place for anybody to live in a
Bob's
creative
not right
pursuit.
about everything. You know,
No, he was right.
No, you should have been a regular cartoonist in the New Yorker. Your drawing is unique. It's a unique voice. I tell my cartoon friends who I try to keep away from you, and we talk about your work, and we all admire it. But you are a favorite among cartoonists who are seasoned and experienced.
That's just sad.
It is.
But you've been cartooning for, when did you first start cartooning, Michael?
Just for money or for fun?
For
your body.
For anything.
Okay, when I was
like, when did you first start doing gag cartoons? Like, when did you first start doing a single panel?
Yes, when I was 10 years old, I actually got a copy, and I still have it, of Thurber and Company. And it's this collection of James Thurber cartoons that were a little more obscure, but I didn't even know who James Thurber was. I just started looking at them. I go, wow, these are really bad. This guy can't draw. I can do that.
So that was your motivator. Your motivator was,
I go,
this person has published work. I'm better than this. I should be able to do this.
I actually have a twin brother, Patrick, and he was actually a better artist than I am.
You have a twin brother? Identical?
Yes. I like
Is one of you evil? Is it you?
Oh, yeah. We have T-shirts that say, I'm the evil twin.
That's great.
Yeah.
Marty, after this, Michael's going to say, let's do our own podcast. I can do better than this.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that interjection. Very nice.
I don't know.
You're welcome.
So anyway, I that's when I started doodling around, I guess. And we would draw comic books because I was raised on a hill in the country in the rolling foothills of the Ozarks. And much like this television, we had like 2 channels. And neither of them came in well. So you'd sit there and you would just draw.
Yeah.
And we would draw bad comic books. So I created the Tranquil Four, and it was this superhero team where nothing ever happened because they were so tranquil. And we would just like draw. And then I got into high school, never took an art class. I did a little stuff with the school newspaper, got in a lot of trouble. Then I decided I wanted to go to college. I was like first generation college, and I got my BFA in painting. So I discovered I couldn't paint either. So I couldn't paint. I couldn't draw. All that was left was cartoons. So,
but all those things are so subjective, aren't they? I mean, anybody can paint, anybody can draw, anybody can do these things. But for a cartoon to be good, it has to have a solid gag. Like, you can be a terrible artist, and you can be a great cartoonist, because if you have a really good joke, and if you can figure out a way to illustrate it with whatever your style is. So you can have a style that isn't typical, but if you can make the joke work with your style, then it's a great cartoon. So,
right, I actually am a believer in that the joke has to live both in the gag and in the cartoon. So it can't just be like 2 people talking to each other saying something funny.
Right, exactly. And the style can't be so bad that it's distracting. But people can develop their own style that's not traditionally, wonderful. Like Matt Diffie has a very specific, beautiful pencil sketch style that is amazing. Like, I love his work. His work is just art.
Here's a fun Matt Diffie story. So we both got into the New Yorker because we won this contest for the Algonquin Hotel. And Matt says, don't tell anyone this because I don't want... He talks about it now. He talked about it on the mock. So I figure, cat's out of the bag. So Diffie was a winner and I was a winner. And there's another guy. And I remember I said, are you a cartoonist? He goes, no, I'm an illustrator and a painter. And he wasn't a cartoonist yet. So
he became one.
We won this contest. We got a weekend at the Algonquin. We got wined and dined. And I thought I was really in. I go, now I'm in. I met Mankoff. I met Roz Chast. This is going to be groovy. So like another year and a half, 2 years, a year and a half passes. I get this big packet. I open it up and I think it's my New Yorker onboarding information. And
Now you're going to be a famous What you need to know if you're going to become a famous New Yorker cartoonist. Welcome to your future.
Yes, I opened it up, and it was all the cartoons I had sent with a note that said, if you want your cartoons returned, please include return postage. So I thought, wow, they're looking at them. That's great.
Yeah.
So then, it took me about, a year after that to first get published. So.
And what year was that?
1999.
Okay.
It was actually the issue that spanned the millennial. So it was the 99-2000 issue. And the cartoon was just this guy, weird-looking guy who looked kind of like drawn by Matt Gehring. I had no style yet. And he was in jail reading Chicken Soup for the Criminally Insane. So I was on my way.
When did you develop your style? I'm looking at some of the pages of the book right here. This is one of my favorite cartoons. It's a guy at he's lining up at the firing squad.
Yes.
Right, and there's a general or whatever talking to a guy that has a blindfold and a cigarette in his mouth. And the guy says to the doomed inmate, "There's no shooting. We just make you keep smoking."
Yes. So my style came out because
Love it.
Back then I was working at Land's End Catalog in Dodgeville, Wisconsin. And I actually met Bruce McCall, and they gave me, they would get all these, they would buy all these cartoons and illustrations, and some of them didn't have captions. And they said, "Here, Michael, caption these." So it was like a Woodman cartoon of reindeer between airplanes. They go, "This needs a caption." So my caption was, "How long is our layover in Cleveland?" Right. So that was fun that I met Bruce McCall. And the reason my style is like that is because I used to get up at like 5:30 in the morning, drink a bunch of coffee, and have an hour to draw. So I was drawing really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I would get these things back, and down below it'd say, "Draw better." Or this desk looks like it's made out of cheese, or something like that. And that's all true. So then I said, I'm just going to draw like this, but I'm going to draw slower.
Mm.
So I'm like drawing fast, very slowly. And that's the style. I mean, I don't draw wrists. I didn't draw necks. You don't need necks. You don't need wrists.
Yeah, you have all the major parts that you need.
Most of them, or the idea of a part.
Michael likes to draw genitals.
This is a very good cartoon.
Generals.
Genitals or generals? Both?
I don't think I've ever drawn a general.
Where do you put the medal?
I know.
This is a great one, too. And this is a complex drawing you did here.
Yes.
This is a doctor talking to a couple. This is in the book. And it says, "I've identified the mysterious lump, Mrs. Feldman. It's your husband." And this is a lot of detail in it. Was this like a much later cartoon?
Yes. No, what was interesting is back then in the day, there weren't that many kind of quirky cartoonists. And I was told specifically to draw as carefully as possible and to be very deadpan about it. So that was me trying to be precise, trying to be Ecksteinian in my drawing technique.
So this was an earlier cartoon.
No, that's a later one.
Okay.
My old style was much looser.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was beaten out of me.
A cartoon that you did for Weekly Humorist early in the pandemic, early in the work from home, kids at home, everyone's going crazy.
Yes.
It was a couple sitting at a table and a woman with a guy, and she says to the guy, "Maybe you should work from someone else's home."
Yes, I really like that one.
And that was a great cartoon that did very, very well. And Yahoo News included that cartoon when they talked to me about humor during the pandemic and during stressful times. So that's a good transition to talk about your book and what about humor? How does humor help when things are so terrible and everything seems like it's falling apart? We as humanity we always pop up with jokes. Everyone just, I think instinctively, we pop up with jokes. Bob, how do you pop up with jokes during really, really depressing times when everyone should be sad? But if you watch, this is an interesting thing that I always notice. If you watch like a soap opera, it's so dramatic that is super unrealistic. Because comedies are more realistic than dramas. Because in reality, we make fun of everything because it breaks the tension. So how does humor help, and why is it that we use comedy to deal with stress and tragedy?
Well, the best cartoons diffuse tension with when you do a setup for a cartoon. Usually the setup is creating something negative and there's tension, and then the punchline releases that through an unpredictable ending or something that's surprisingly funny or something like that. So that is the formula for a good cartoon, is to have this setup that's negative or a premise in which there's a dire situation. How you work as a professional, it's, sort of a survival thing that we've been working and producing so much work. I mean, it's been very stressful for me because I've been writing a book with Michael.
Yeah.
I know. I've been getting a lot of those emails.
Yeah, I've been, but I was teaching and I was doing all these other things, which was discussed in the book. Actually, it's pivoting. Is that all of us have had to pivot what we're used to doing and out of our comfort zone and doing something different to whether it's making a living or just keeping sane. I mean, right now I'm working on trying to make my garage door opener into a home gym and doing different things like that. I mean, like, it's just so abnormal. So how to be funny is that sometimes it's just the way to get by. I mean, it's like everyone thinks they're funny now. There's a lot of jokes everywhere. Everyone's got, a comeback for something on Twitter or something.
And if we didn't make jokes, what would we do? We would just lie down. It's like there's nothing else to do.
Right. I don't know when I'm being funny. So, like, what? Was I funny? Oh, okay.
How do you come up with ideas for the cartoons that you guys draw? One of my this is a great one too. This is another Michael Shaw. I will highlight some Bob cartoons also because there are a couple in the book.
Okay.
But this one I just happened upon, which is a great one where it's it looks like a homeless guy on the street corner next to a trash can begging for money, and the woman is looking at him, and the man saying to the woman, "Can we talk about this after work?"
Yes. So I actually do. I put people into the worst possible situation. It's
You
just
do.
like nothing good is happening here.
Is that the Wisconsin in you?
No, I'm not a native.
Oh, okay.
I'm Wisconsin mean, but I am a Midwesterner.
Okay.
I am a little sad. I'm a little sad that the cartoons are being read this way because without the drawings, the drawings do enhance these jokes.
Of course they do.
It's somewhat like, it's like sort of like a stand-up.
Actually, I can see them on Marty's screen. They look fine.
Barely, you can barely see them. But I mean, and as far as
I have a couple.
Cartoons,
Hold on, I got a couple of things we can show here. I have technology, guys.
Yeah, let's do that because I do feel like that's part of the charm. It's funny because this was a topic discussed with Ron Hauge. Ron Hauge is the person I mentioned earlier. He worked for The Simpsons and worked for The Village Voice and other places. And he said, you really do want to put time and effort into the drawing because the joke by itself, that's a different game. And if you really want to sell a joke, the drawing is a very important part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to see my cartoons. As I mentioned to one time, I would have been happy just having only Michael's cartoons in the book.
That's because I would give them to you for free.
I wasn't going to tell you. I was just going to do it.
Yeah, I did show up.
I'm sharing a portion of the screen.
And this is the cover of the book.
Is this?
There
we go.
And thank
technology.
you for not offending people.
I'm getting there. Okay.
So anyway,
can you see this? Can people see? This is the cover of the book. This is the elements of stress and the pursuit of happy-ish in this current shitstorm. And we did asterisks so it doesn't say shitstorm on the cover.
How would you pronounce that?
Shitstorm.
See, I think So Bob I did elements of strife. I said, "What do you think of that, Bob?" He goes, No, how about elements of stress? I said, okay. Then I came up with and the pursuit of happy-ish. And then Bob came up with the last bit. So I go,
yeah.
what?
Of course, it didn't come in.
So it's everyone's fault.
Yes, it is.
And
But,
Michael, you're giving the impression that this took place over the course of 10 seconds.
yeah,
It actually factored in the reaction to different people who would be supporting the book and what they thought. And we did have sort of a very smart sort of informal survey of what would be speaking to people best.
I think we should pronounce it shite storm.
Shite storm. Okay.
I like shite. It's kind of British. Shite.
Right. It sounds cultural, like we've upper crust.
Or the Brits always put a positive spin. I
Yeah.
mean, everything's better with a British accent.
Does everyone see the live box in the corner with the cartoons behind it? Because we might be covering the punchline of each cartoon.
It's fine. We've run multiple tests on this, and this is a flawless execution of a plan.
What's interesting, if you go back to the first cartoon with making the election best of 7,
Yes.
you'll notice that's in the land before widescreen television.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my TV.
Well, that's
Right
what
now.
I'm saying. I mean, we're back to that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, full circle.
These are some photos that I got from you guys. This is from Michael. This is your studio. We wanted to show.
Yes.
Is that your writing assistant?
That's me.
That's
Sad.
you? Wow, you put on some weight. Good for you.
I know. COVID. I put on the COVID 184. In the
You have
background, you'll
the
see
quarantine
my Bob
17.
Bancroft drawing
Oh,
Very nice.
that I took at the Algonquin. I just took it. He turned around and I said, "I'm grabbing this."
So this image on the wall you stole from Mankoff.
Yes. Well, I think I asked him. He said, "I'll never see you again," so that's fine.
Nice.
It says budget recliner.
we can edit this out.
No, that's great. Now this is live.
Why?
We edit nothing out because it's
Good.
live.
Actually, this also is my old studio when I was living in Westchester, Ohio, and I was in I forget now, but now I'm in Manitowoc. So, but I'm still in the basement. I like to work in basements.
Yeah.
I'm in a storage
he's right.
room. So
We're in the middle of a show right now. Bob Mankoff is on the phone right now. I'm on
Well,
with him. Wait, no,
I haven't heard from him in years. Say
We'll
hi.
talk about this later. We'll talk about this later. Sorry.
you guys, the
That was
Bobs,
fun.
Jeez.
the Bobs
Oh my
need their
God.
own podcast.
Are you sure it wasn't? You're sure it wasn't Bob Newhart?
It was Bob Newhart. He was doing the Lincoln bit.
I know.
I've heard that bit over and over. I'm just a little tired of it. And
Here's another photo from Michael. This is also his. This is him drawing
where I get my
cartoons.
inspiration from.
oh, good God!
I did this for a case for pencils. What was that little blog?
Is this glass that you have on? Is a light box?
Yes, I still have it.
And is this glass like beveled?
Yes, it's just the top of a an old table.
Does that give your drawings a little bit of a texture?
It gives it that romantic kind of foggy quality.
I like
It's
it.
stolen from that hotel. It's
Yes,
another thing
from
he
the
stole.
from the Algonquin.
This is
He came
another.
back with a whole suitcase of stuff.
This is another
You see a
photo
little-
from the book.
You
This
can
is
see
a
a
photo.
little car back there that looks like a potato with wheels. That's a Mini.
That's a Mini Cooper. That's Bob Eckstein's car. Everybody, it's
Yes.
making very bad
Okay.
smells coming out of it when it goes into.
Look at that
well-
tidy. My studio isn't that tidy anymore. So.
Let's please let it go with the Mini. I'm a little sensitive about it. Jeez.
Hey, I bought a car during the pandemic. I bought a car on eBay during the pandemic because I was feeling trapped in New York City, and I didn't have a car. And I had gotten rid of my own car that I'd had in the city for 17 years, and I decided to get rid of it last year because I'm an idiot. And then
Let's guess what you bought.
I bought a GMC Envoy, which is just a basic SUV.
Oh my!
But it
That's what I
also
was going to guess.
it makes
That
a
was my first
farting
guess.
it makes a farting sound when I hit the brakes because of an ABS sensor problem I have to get fixed now. So every time I stop at a red light, it goes every time.
Is that Andy?
I actually purchased a Fiat 500X
Just during pandemic?
pre when I moved back up here to Wisconsin.
So
I like-
you moved to
it's
Wisconsin and
interesting.
you
In 1
think
year,
I
I
need to
put-
get a Fiat.
Yes, it's, I think it's the perfect car.
It's a perfect snow car.
It's perfect for that cold weather. Now, Michael, do you take out the windshield? Because when you're in the really, really tundra cold, they take out the windshield because otherwise it breaks.
Yeah.
Well, I took out the windshield when I was parking.
Yeah. And do you keep your refrigerator outside the house and use it to keep things warm?
So this is the view from my, this is sort of, when I want to come out, when I've been quarantining and take a look around. This is my homage to Larry of the Three Stooges when they were plumbers.
You were great in the Holy Grail.
I thought this was a photo from Monty Python. When you guys sent me this photo, for those of you listening, not looking at anything, this is a photo on the screen of Michael Shaw. It is a black and white photo. It is him in a yard garden type thing, and he is buried up to his neck.
Yes.
And he's got some
we were replacing water line, and I wanted to take this shot because everyone asked, is this Photoshop? I go, no.
And you're wearing like a helmet type thing that looks like Monty Python and the Holy Grail type, like old leather helmet type thing. And when was this photo taken?
Last week.
It was not.
It was a while back. It's been a while. In fact, I tried to replicate it a few months ago, and the magic was not there anymore.
Did you get stuck in the hole?
I actually dug the hole because I was doing some, foundational work. So
that's a deep hole.
Why not try it? But you can't go back down the hole again.
And then we have one more. I have one more picture to show here. This is high stress occupations in the United States, and
Michael,
the number one here is clown and comedian. The lowest one is poet.
Should it be rodeo clown?
No.
No. Okay.
You could have went there, but I think you would have totally killed the joke, totally.
But I just watched Honey Boy, the Shia LaBeouf movie. And his dad's a rodeo clown. It's very sad and stressful.
It sounds stressful. They should read our book because then
I would send it to him.
They would be less stressed.
It's a cry for help, yes.
So this is Talkward. I know both of you have awkward stories to tell. Bob always has awkward stories to tell. So let's do... What is a nice awkward story from Bob? It doesn't have to be pandemic related.
Michael go.
No, I don't want to go. I'll just get in trouble.
You could throw out a name of anyone. I suggest that we both have a Garrison Keillor story we could share. But you could throw out anyone. Yeah, we could throw out Garrison. We could throw out any name. And I had some kind of embarrassing moment with somebody.
You mentioned that you submitted cartoons that were scratch and sniff.
Oh yeah, this week my cartoons were all pumpkin flavored. They were. They all had to do with pumpkin, and I made like this patch where you scratch it to get the scent, like the old scratch and sniff cartoons. There was a time that I was trying to do all these different format cartoons, thinking that this would be a new, fresh way to see the cartoons. And I did this for like a year with no success until I submitted a cartoon 3D Thanksgiving. And it really was a cartoon that you needed 3D glasses to see. And this was in the New Yorker. And it was the iconic Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving dinner scene where the mother brings the turkey to the family and everyone's looking on, anxiously anticipating their meal. In my case, I made the turkey dancing. And if you have your glasses, you can really see the turkey coming right at you. And other attempts, though, to do different formats kind of just flopped. I had things in different languages. I had different puzzles that you had to do to figure out the caption. And then I had to scratch and sniff.
You've been doing a lot of very interesting, I feel like multimedia or Photoshop related jokes, visual jokes for Daily Beast recently. You started doing, you're like a weekly columnist, weekly featured illustrator there.
I was. They're struggling at the moment. They love me there. They've been so supportive, and they kind of had to tell everyone that times have been very hard, and certain people have kind of been put on the sidelines for now. And I've been asked to just be patient until they do better. It's really sad because they were running such funny stuff.
Yeah, you've been
There's so
putting
much
out a lot of. I mean, it seemed like, was it weekly? It seemed like you had a
Yeah.
lot of output with, and it wasn't just like one illustration. It would be like a gigantic amount of illustrations.
Yeah, they did a thing with Pandemic Monopoly. I did, and then I did face masks that were sort of bumper stickers with on messages on the face mask. And just to go back to something you just said about trying to come up with different technology for work, a place contacted me, Mental Canvas, and they would like me to work with them and experiment with their new software, which is 3D cartoons. The cartoons you draw, you actually go into the environment and you could walk around the different elements in the cartoon. You actually could go behind the main character speaking and go to another part of the room. And it's absolutely amazing. And they contacted me because they feel I'm an influencer. I have a large following that could help them get the word out, as well as being very tight with the teaching community among art teachers. I speak at a lot of art schools, and they feel like that could be instrumental to getting the word out about this new technology. And it's absolutely amazing.
It sounds amazing. And, I also, you're a big influencer on the TikTok.
I am working on a piece this morning. Stars of TikTok, where are they now? From yesterday. I mean, literally. Where do they go?
They're on Knick Knack.
One of the big stars.
That 3D cartoon idea just sounds frightening.
I want to go live in a cartoon. People
want to be trapped in one of my cartoons. I mean, it's just. Ugh.
I wouldn't mind it. You don't need wrists or necks.
I want it flat. I want it simple. I do no shading. I do no color. I want it sparse.
You did a little bit of color, tiny bit of color you did in the work from home cartoon.
Yeah, I know. I tried.
Which was good. I like the effort. I like the trying. Look what happens when you try. Boom. That thing
I should try.
That went viral. That was amazing.
Michael, I've tried to talk you into adding a little bit of shading. I've had the luxury of seeing more of Michael's work than I think anyone else on the planet, because Michael, for a time, him and me exchanged batches that we were submitting to the New Yorker for a time. And so I would see all of Michael's efforts. And I'm not exaggerating. I know I'm coming across as a kiss ass here, but I used to talk to my friends, Michael Maslin and Nick Downs and all my other cartoon friends. We used to compare notes and stuff. And I said, I'm seeing the best cartoons out of Michael Shaw. His batches are just astounding. And so I had that luxury. But I did try to encourage you to enhance your cartoons even more, because every time you did add a little bit of shading, I thought it even added another dimension.
I don't recall you saying that, Bob. But,
Yeah, maybe it wasn't you.
I
said to somebody.
I think it was Peter Arno.
Well, I think your cartoons are wonderful, and you can do whatever you want. You don't have to add color or shading. They work just fine.
No, I think, Tina Brown brought color to the cartoons at the New Yorker. So look what happened to her.
It's a lot more money.
I don't know what happened.
This is just a beginning for you. As I said, the next step is the other self-help books you wanted to work on. You gave me some titles. The Joy of Shtick.
The Joy of Shtick. 7 Habits of Highly Infected People.
He's just not that into you tonight. And then what about doing the Element of Stress, the musical? We talked about that.
I had another one here. I can't find it now. It was good.
All right, Marty, I got an awkward story to tell you. I got to tell you this story.
Okay.
Musical story. Okay. I go to see Eric Idle at the City Hall in New York City. We go, I bought a ticket. Ticket's like $35. I'm thinking, will I be able to get a seat at all? Because I didn't have a seat previously. I went to the box office to buy it the day of the performance. I go into the theater. The place is empty. So now I'm thinking, I got the ticket, but it's not today. There's a few people walking around, but it was the right time. Well, there was less than 10 people who purchased a ticket for his show. So I could see them having a meeting on stage.
Only 10 people bought tickets to see Eric Idle?
Was this
maybe a dozen? No, this was just his stand-up. This was his Greedy tour, the tour that he did about trying to capitalize on on the Monty Python name.
Boy,
and he did a
that
stand-up.
That did not work.
So you see them having a meeting on stage. It's beyond the time that they're supposed to start, and you can see them conferring. And what they did was they had all 10 of us sit together in the corner of the theater, like together. And all of a sudden, we were all sitting together, and they performed to the cluster of people right there.
Wow.
And this is in stark contrast to a couple of nights before this. I saw Eddie Izzard in a jam-packed Radio City in which he did not perform his act, but he just had a workshop, just workshopping. He sold out.
When
the
was
theater
this?
was sold out.
When was the Eric Idle event?
This was a couple of days before the Eric Idle was. They were together, days apart, and this was years ago.
Okay.
Many years ago. So anyway, I'm sitting now next to people after having many rows, all social distancing, well before the pandemic. We're all safe. Now we're 10 people smacked together. And the man next to me is talking. He's saying to another guy, he goes, "Oh, I'm convinced this is an idea we've got to do. I'm telling you, we should do a Broadway play, a musical. We'll call it something like Spamalot." And it was Mike Nichols sitting next to me.
Uh-oh. Bob's outside the office.
Yeah, I'm going to.
He's become
computer
he's become a spirited voice. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, my computer went down. I just switched over, and that was really rude. I mean, I was hoping people would say that was an interesting story, and instead, I just got kicked out of the room.
the technology responded to your story accordingly.
Yeah, story of my life.
Amazing. So how many times you guys are doing a lot of cartoons for do you do like daily batches or weekly batches? What is your process for the cartooning? Michael, what is your process in that studio we saw?
I have a device called the Gagalog, and it's basically a Word file that I fill with fascinating bits of humor, or as it's called, mining for comedic gold. So I'll take, the 5 that are striking me as the funniest, and I'll work them up into roughs, But what's good with me is my roughs and my finishes look the same. So
just one great. Has more ink.
Yeah, well, rollerball, typewriter paper, printer paper. That's it. I keep it simple. Keep her moving.
So in this joke book, essentially this doc, how many undrawn cartoon ideas do you have in it right now?
Oh, who knows? It's probably about 120 pages.
Oh, wow.
Stuff. I mean, there's probably. I was thinking about just turning it into a freeform novel, sort of like Gertrude Stein gags. I mean,
when you draw the cartoon and take the gag and use it, do you delete it from the book?
Oh no.
Okay, so it stays in. Do you mark it?
It usually takes about 57 tries to get the thing to actually work. So cartoons that I actually sell are probably like 3 to 4 years old. It's like, when you see the star, you're just seeing the light from, a million years ago. When you see my cartoon, you're seeing like 3 years of like just resubmitting, and then they finally buy it. And it still looks like it took me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So sometimes 20.
It's nice when
like
something
effortlessness through torture.
Yeah, because it looks like you just drew it on a whim and sent it somewhere.
It has a sense of insouciance. So
I'm going to take your word for that.
Later.
Yes, cheerful insouciance.
Very
cheerful.
cheerful.
$50 word.
Yes.
Definitely. That is a Words with Friends winner right there.
There we go. So,
and Bob, how many?
That's how I work.
How do you work, Bob? Especially, how are you adjusting to work from not your normal studio?
Well, that doesn't change anything. I mean, I have an office here on the roof of my house. I still go outside and work on the bench, and that's where I write and come up with ideas. And I'm juggling a bunch of jobs, and I just work on the cartoons when I have a free time. But like this morning, I had to turn in a job for the New York Times. I did a large feature for the New York Times book review. And later today, I have to work on finishing up Jack Handy's book. We're working on a book together, and I have to finish that with him. And so every day there's a project. And then if I can find some free minutes, I'll work on some cartoons. And I stole the format from Rolling Stone's back page. The back page, when growing up, I used to always look at the Billboard, and they had a list of the top albums, top singles. And there was always like one thing that said with a rocket, and it's going up the scales, going up the charts. And this is what I do with my cartoon ideas. I write them out. I have like about, the jokes I have are either sold or not sold. There's like 1,000. But in the top 20 and 30 are the ones I'm working on. And as they get better, they move up the chart. And when you hit number 1, then I draw it out.
Okay.
So then I go to the next one and I work my way down until I have a batch of cartoons. And then I submit them to places. And I'm no longer popular in this country, but I do sell almost all my cartoons to smaller markets in England and all these magazines that exist over there. And over there, I'm actually quite popular. And people wouldn't know that, but
you're like the David Hasselhoff. You're the Hasselhoff of cartooning.
So Marty,
I'm a lot like.
I just opened my Gagalog and I'm looking at some of these captions. So my first one is, the zoo called, you can go back now.
Okay.
And I drew that one. So that's the guy, I'm always referring back to Thurber. So that's the guy looking at the seal. The seal's just in the bed by itself. So then there's what's a good one? Oh, Adam talking to Eve, and Adam says, I thought we were just hanging out.
I thought we were just hanging out. Oh, there's a very good Adam and Eve cartoon in the book, and they're eating the snake.
Yes, that one got published.
That's a great cartoon.
So here's doesn't work. I was playing with this. Quentin Quarantino.
I like you're asking, is this anything? This is a good joke, right?
Gross. Everything ends up with your questions, and then your voice goes up, and then you answer your own question. Don't you agree?
Right?
Yeah. There are certain tropes that we fall back on.
Yes. And
we kind of explore those, and then we realize that we want to be more original, and we kind of abandon those. But on my list somewhere, there's good book, bad book, and things like that, which you kind of exhaust initially.
I feel like, some of these are great too. This is a Michael Shaw cartoon I'm looking at that is, now we have 2 cartoons that are similar topics, and you each did your own take on it. On the back cover of the book is the Rubik's Cube cartoon, which is a famous cartoon from Bob Eckstein, which I don't know if I have handy. Maybe I haven't. I'll find it. But it is a unsolved Rubik's Cube climbing up the mountain to the solved Rubik's Cube, who is the wise one on the top of the hill. And there's no caption, and it's perfect. And
I still don't get it.
And Bob, in that cartoon has had an immense success, but kind of without you, because you drew the cartoon, and then everyone stole the cartoon and used it on meditation websites forever and ever.
Right. It never got published. I did submit it to the New Yorker. And the New Yorker, when you go in with a batch, they pick out the ones that they would consider and show to the next level. That cartoon never even made it past the first round. But I put it on Facebook, and it got over 1 million likes and shares. And I know that it's a very famous cartoon in other countries like Brazil and China. It's like a cartoon that's considered one of the most popular cartoons. And it does run right now in the new Reader's Digest in their Genius issue.
Wow.
There's a new Reader's Digest?
Yeah.
There's a Genius issue?
There's a Genius issue, and I belong in it.
Things wrong with that.
And then there's also a great cartoon that Michael did. Same topic, same idea, same searching for wisdom from the guy on top of the hill.
Which is why I'm suing him.
And it's a hiker talking to a guy, and he said, "No, but I can tell you the meaning of whole or term life insurance."
He's a life insurance salesman, not a yoga. No. So my most famous cartoon is my blank cartoon of nothing. And
That's your best work when you do
yes,
nothing.
because I didn't draw. I drew the lines, but that's it. I drew it very carefully, and it went viral after the Charlie Hebdo shootings, and it went all the way around the world. And I ended up on Ronan Farrow. So
Yeah, that guy.
he's talking to someone from The Onion, and this guy is just completely outraged, completely angry, completely just seething with anger. And then he turns to me and he says, Michael, how do you feel when someone tries to change your work? I go, I don't care. If you're going to buy it, do whatever you want. I'm fine with that. And that's all I said. I said, well, what's Woody really like? Come on.
Oh my! And that was that was
Talk about Talkward.
that was a nice screeching halt, and I'm sure that surprised him. And
I didn't actually say that. I just added that for comedic.
Oh, come on. You,
Oh, I win.
we're trusting you.
I don't. Where'd you get that penguin?
I was wondering about that penguin too.
Yeah, there's a lot of polar stuff in the room because the room is an attic that I turned into the inside of a ship because I'm doing a graphic novel about Arctic exploration. So I have all these little artifacts. Let me go get one other thing to show you.
Turn it off. Turn it off. There he goes. Bob likes to keep busy.
This is
I think it's
does a sword go into that, or is that a horn that you blow and play a?
That's an ivory tusk.
That's an ivory tusk.
It's a fake. No, it's something I got from a dealer, but I have a lot of collectible stuff to inspire me. And that includes
illegal.
A cartoon. I have a cartoon on the wall. The only cartoon I have anywhere. I have a Michael Maslin cartoon, and it's a great cartoon of aliens coming back to Earth with their spaceship, and they see the wallet in front of them. They said, "Oh, it's right where I left it."
It's good.
Sorry.
It was in parking lot D.
Listen, no one said that reading cartoons like this is going to work.
There's a great cartoon that I got from Bob. He signed it. It's a signed print, and it's wonderful. And it's a man interviewing a snowman, and he says, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years? 5 months?
5 months. Oh my God! Thank you. See, really, can we change hosts? Let me mention that we have a book coming out, another book called All's Fair in Love and War. It's a collection of cartoons, and Michael's work is like the most predominantly featured cartoonist in the book, but it includes all the people who are the world's greatest cartoonists, like Matt Diffie and Raj Chaz. And if people do want to hear more about cartooning and stuff, I recently did a show a couple of days ago, the Milford Festival. I did a conversation with Raj Chaz and Matt Diffie, and it was a fascinating talk about cartoons and writing humor and the future of humor right now. And if people really want to get into this even deeper, they would want to check that out. It's on YouTube. Just type in Milford Festival and our names. And we discussed it even further than we're doing now. It's hard to get serious with Michael.
The cartoon series that you've been putting out, Bob, by the world's greatest cartoonists, All's Fair, the ultimate cartoon book for critics, the ultimate cartoon book for... You've done a couple of these
bookstores,
now.
Right.
Bookstores.
The other one was bookstores.
You did the world's greatest bookstores. That was its own book where you painted beautiful bookstores from all around the world. And then you've done 3 of these cartoon collection books now.
Well, no, I was mentioning the first book was about bookstores. It was cartoons about bookstores.
Right. Sorry.
And it was a thank you card to all the bookstores that helped make my first book a success. They had asked me to do a follow-up. I wasn't able to do a follow-up with the publisher, so I did something different, which is to give them a laugh and to give them something fun for themselves, which was cartoons about life in bookstores and life with books and stuff. And that mushroomed into these series. And now this one comes out, and it's about love and marriage and divorce. Initially, the publisher wanted me to do it just about divorce, but I thought that was just too negative, and we expanded it to be about marriage and divorce.
Just relationships in general.
And this is by Sam Gross. And Sam Gross is 87. I just spoke to him yesterday. He's doing great. I'm going to go see him. He's in Fire Island, and he's been working, and he's doing some great work. He's in the new issue of The New Yorker. He has a cartoon, and it's the funniest cartoon in the issue. It's really good. And I should mention, it's because of him that I'm a cartoonist. We were friends before I was a cartoonist. I was working on a snowman book, The History of the Snowman, and he and I got to know each other. And he was helping me with that book. And he took me out for my birthday to dinner. And during that dinner, it was actually a lunch. And during that lunch, he dared me to try to do cartoons. And I did a cartoon. I did a batch. And then he took me into the New Yorker offices the next couple of weeks later. It was 2 weeks later. And he introduced me to Bob Mankoff. And I knew nothing about cartoons and anything. But he introduced me to the New Yorker. And that's how I started.
Sam's a great guy, too. I remember you introduced me to Sam maybe 5 years ago. He came into the offices and did a portfolio review. He actually brought cartoons in. You brought him in. I had a bunch of young comedy writers who were in, and we were just having like a meet and greet. And having him and you come in was such a treat. Everyone just fawned over both of you, but he was so giving of his time, and he brought all these originals in. And then he gave me a tour of his office in Manhattan, and I got to go through all his filing cabinets. And he keeps, he's analog, big time. And they're all, every cartoon, every gag is filed away in a very, very organized, specific way. And he just has so many cartoons in his archive. It was incredible.
Marty, I know.
I was a Sam fan back in the Lampoon days, when before I ever looked at New Yorkers. And
Frog's Legs.
I found him so sweetly amusing yet inappropriate.
So inappropriate.
And when I met him for the first time, all I could do is talk about his cartoons from the Lampoon. Yeah. He said, "Could you stop talking about those?"
Michael, he's got such a timeless style that he never seems like it's outdated.
If there's anyone who I sort of approach, I think it's him as far as style goes.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple.
Yeah,
it doesn't overtake the joke. No. It's just enough to make the joke work.
He doesn't upstage it. He doesn't steal the scene. And Marty, I'll share that for the book that I described, the next cartoon book, when I asked for submissions from Sam, he asked me to come on over because it was too many. And he had 800 submissions on the topic of love and divorce that we went through together. And we went through all 800 cartoons to pick out the best ones. And then, of course, we made him the cover.
How many did you pick out of the 800?
I think we picked like 7 of the best.
Okay, that's good.
And I did try to pick everything on merit. Like that was I've always said to myself that I want to be honest and true to this art form. I love this art form. I feel indebted to cartooning, the joy it brought me, and to the cartoonists. I owe it to them. So I always try to do it simply on merit. And I will say that I think Michael has the most cartoons at like 13, along with possibly Ed Corinne, who is also a wonderful cartoonist. And he's got like 10 cartoons as well. And very strong outing.
And we're the antithesis of each other's style.
Could be. You could say that, yeah. He's got a gentle humor that's very observational.
I was in that, we were doing that podcast at the Norman Rockwell.
Oh, right. We were all together then.
It was just kind of orating lyrically about what a joy it is to cartoon. I just want to go say, no, it's torture. What do you mean it's a beautiful experience? Cartooning is torture.
Exactly. The experience is very different for different people, depending on how much love they get back from their work. I know cartoonists who I hear from all the time who have yet to be published anywhere, and they are very tormented souls.
But even when you get published, it seems to be like this is a symptom that is a lot of comedic base attention is when you accomplish that thing, like when you get that cartoon in that magazine or in that newspaper, you feel great, and then you're like, okay, I need to get another one in.
Yes,
Like it's like that high that you've been chasing only lasts like until I have to submit another one. I need that again. It's very similar for like stand-up comedians who go up on stage and they do really well, and then it's like, okay, great. Now I have to go do that again. Like I have to do it again. I have to do it again. So it's kind of like something that you're chasing forever. And are you ever done?
No.
What would be the end goal of any of these things? Is it just being able to do it for as long as possible?
Yeah.
A good joke on the tombstone. A good joke on the tombstone. I have a few tombstone jokes.
I do too.
What is okay? Give me your top. Give me your number one tombstone joke, and then Michael, give me your number one tombstone joke.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I've been cartooning for a bunch of magazines, so they ask for specific things. One of them is the Antiques Weekly, and they said they want me to do cartoons about auctioneer guys, and I did a tombstone for them that says "I'm out." It's a bidder.
I'm out.
You know, but I did a similar cartoon for a company that was a phone company and telemarketing, and the tombstone said, "I'm still on hold."
That's a great one. That's a great one. Okay, Shaw, you're up.
One I did, which I've never published. I've never drawn it yet either, so it's still right here. So it's the tombstone says R.I.P. and the joke is going to be like, yeah, his nickname was Rip.
His nickname was Rip.
When Johnny Carson died, of course, I did a "Here's Johnny" on the tombstone, and of course, I've done the tombstone with an "I voted" sticker on it. So, see, that's why they've never been published. Then there's the
No, people are laughing. You just can't hear them.
Marty's doing a good job of just holding in the guffaw.
That's a cutout. He's not here anymore.
The tomb to the unknown blank. So I'm always filling that in. Tomb to the unknown exit strategy. Tomb to the unknown CEO. So you just fill that in. Keep filling that in.
Yeah.
Someone will buy it.
Well, it's like a trope that can be used over and over again. Like it's you could do that drawing once, and then you could keep on filling in that one little joke. The way Bob has. Bob, you have a cartoon that's like a Hollywood agent character, like talking to someone.
He reappears many times.
I've seen that drawing so many times, but there's always a new joke, or there's always a new person in the chair he's talking to, whether it's a bear, or whether it's a snowman. It's
or Frankenstein.
Yeah, there's always someone in that chair.
It's always that same palm tree in the window.
Yeah.
That's my shortcut. That's my shorthand for saying that we're in Hollywood. We all use shorthands for the different things, the different symbols. Like if you had to do a drawing about love, we use the heart symbol.
Right.
So, but if we want to do something like about Hollywood, I draw Jeremy, what's his face, the pornographer, and I make him the agent. I make Jeremy, what's his face, the agent.
Yes, I've noticed.
That's what he looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy.
That's it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
He's in the news right now. That's the only reason I know.
Oh, that's right.
Nothing good. Nothing good.
Yeah. Maybe we can get him a copy of our book, The Elements of Stress. He could use it.
I think so. Have you seen his apartment? It's a mess.
I haven't been invited.
No, they posted pictures on like The Sun or some British tabloid.
The book's coming out soon. Hopefully this week your book's coming out, The Elements of Stress.
Thanks to you, Marty. Thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. We're very excited. This is a funny quick story. So let's talk about this. I was going to say go to the elementsofstress.com for more information about the book, or elementsofstress.com for more information about the book. To pre-order the book now, you can do that, and you'll be getting it in the mail. It will be available widely, and you can buy it wherever you buy books very soon. But I set up the website for elementsofstress.com, and we've been on many emails about this. But then what happened recently with you and Michael on the email exchange, which I found very funny.
Yeah, Michael was asking about getting that domain name for himself.
And what happened when and then you realize it was taken, and you're like, oh crap, maybe we can buy it from that person.
Yes, and I thought you were like a Korean online casino or something. Had snatched it. Because I unfortunately let my domain name lapse.
So Michael was very concerned that, oh, darn, we didn't get the domain. I have to buy it from this stranger. Meanwhile, we've had umpteen amount of emails talking about going to the website that was live.
I don't read all my emails. That's obvious. Send a postcard.
So please go to the elementsofstress.com to learn more about the book, get it on pre-order. And this has been great, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. Always fun to hear about cartooning and writing and comedy from Bob Eckstein and Michael Shaw, two legends of the cartoon comedy business here on Talkward. Thanks for being on Talkward today. Where can people find you guys online? You're on Twitter, Bob, at Bob Eckstein?
That's correct. I have a Facebook page, and I have a website and Twitter and Instagram, and you'll see all my musings and cracking wise. And before I forget, I want to also thank Andy for all his work. If he's not sleeping right now, but on the podcast, but I want to thank him for all his efforts for the book.
Andy Newton, the editor of Humorous Books, who has been tirelessly working on editing this book.
He has his own book, too, we should mention.
He does. The On the Campaign Trail or Thereabouts is still available on Amazon and everywhere you get books. He co-wrote that with Michael Bleicher. And it's a great campaign, political satire, very timely.
So speaking of multimedia, my Instagram is called Shawtoons on a Fridge. I used to actually tape them on my old Norge refrigerator and photograph them and then post them. So you're actually looking at my refrigerator with a cartoon taped on it.
That's for Sean, Shaw Tuner, right? That's your Instagram?
Yeah, I'm not a big Twitter guy, but I try.
I have seen your cartoons. The cartoons that you put online are photographs of cartoons on your fridge.
Yes. Cartoons on a fridge.
Marty, I got to say, you're talking about how do we get satisfaction, the craving for applause and stuff like that. For me, the best moment is going to a party at a stranger's house. A friend knows somebody or whatever. You find yourself in a strange home and you see your cartoon on the refrigerator.
That's right. The refrigerator used to be the social media for cartooning.
Yeah.
That used to be, that's the first Facebook.
It is. That's the wall. The first wall was your fridge with a magnet. I have a bunch of cartoons up in my kitchen that are actually cartoons that were hanging on my grandparents' Frigidaire, which they called any refrigerator a Frigidaire. Open the Frigidaire. It didn't have to be a Frigidaire, but it was always that brand she always would say. That was Lolly and Pops' house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But she had tons and tons of cartoons cut out up on the fridge for years, for my entire childhood of going there for holidays. And they were like yellowed and rumpled, and they were classic cartoons. And I took many of those when they packed up that house, and I got them laminated, and I have them up in my kitchen. But they're some great ones. Like there was a single panel cartoonist, and the cartoon was called Herman.
Yeah,
I loved Herman.
It was Herman, and it was hilarious, and it was always. Oh, yeah. There was a multitude of cartoons that my grandmother cut out for some reason. She was a very bad motorist, very bad driver. Many stories of her driving the wrong way. She didn't drive very much in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And she ran over my grandfather with a golf cart at the Oakmont Country Club. And so all the cartoons, a lot of them were very much about marriage. She always cut out things about marriage, relationships, and then also automotive problems. So the two that I have up that are sticking out in my head right now, this one where it's a Herman cartoon and the car is completely smashed and there's a toll booth and this old woman goes, well, do you want the 50 cents or not? And the car is destroyed. And then there was another one where the car, it was called Close to Home, which is the name of the cartoon. And the cartoon was in the front family room. The car has gone through the front house window into the family room, and the man is sitting in his easy chair, and the woman's in the car. And she goes, well, they do say that most accidents happen like within 5 miles of the house. And she has driven into the house.
And the cartoonist was, I believe, Howard Unger, no relationship to Felix Unger.
For Herman, yeah.
Right.
I have a Herman anthology somewhere.
Do you?
These people were just fascinating to look at.
Yeah. And then also I remember I have one. I have a Far Side that I'm remembering. There's a Far Side that I have up on the wall, and it is a newsstand, and it is I think they're GNUs. He says we have good news and bad news, and it's just the animal news inside the newspaper stand. These make no sense out of context if you can't see them, folks, but trust me, they're funny. No, and I'll put them on the website.
Not all of them work.
I'll put them on the website for you to see. But this has been wonderful. Thanks so much for being on Talkward today, guys. And please, and thank you for listening out there. Follow us online at Talkward Podcast, and follow Weekly Humor. Sign up for our daily and weekly newsletters at weeklyhumorist.com. Follow me at Marty Dundix. Thanks for being on Talkward, guys. Congratulations on the upcoming book, The Elements of Stress, available very soon. Please visit theelementsofstress.com. And that's all I got. You guys have anything else?
I want, Bob to get outside and get some fresh air.
Gotta get that car fixed.
That egg from here.
All right, I'll work on this.
Great talking to you guys. Thank you.
Talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening to Talkward. Please subscribe, follow us, and visit weeklyhumorist.com.